Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. Really appreciate you taking the time to come up. We're going to have Mayor Blake speak today, along with Jeanette Bankars, who is the chair of the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee, and Aaron O'Neill, the Recovery Branch lead. So without any further ado, I will invite Mayor Blake up.
Well, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a real pleasure to be here today. Today is the first day of Phase 1 re-entry for our most restricted neighborhoods, Abasand and Beacon Hill. And of course, we have our waterways on the side that we still wonder and worry about on a daily basis. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that at every step of this journey that we've been on, there are some pretty important acknowledgements to make. And it is related in this case, of course, to the work that's been done to get us to this point today, and an acknowledgement that the work doesn't stop here, that in fact we do have a number of other residents that are not yet back where they belong in their own homes, and the process, again, for those who are rebuilding will take longer still. But we are delighted to be able to be coming home at all. As I said in the first reentry, that we had as much of our community standing as we did, I thought was quite incredible. And when we came back into the community, we were here because we had so many people on the ground making the effort to bring us back that way. Since the original reentry back at the beginning of June, we've been waiting with long and patient and sometimes frustrated feelings about how we could get back in. And there is no longer frustration for these 439 homes that are about to be reoccupied. What there is a joy and enthusiasm, despite our rainy weather, which we didn't have on the first reentry. We are lucky that we have it here today, and those citizens that are coming home, they'll get the same warm welcome that everyone else did during our time. And I could not be more appreciative of having the recovery committee that's been established and making forward progress. It looks like they did this all themselves. They didn't. They did it with a bunch of help from the people, as I say, that are on the ground. And you'll hear an update later from Erin O'Neill, who is just an incredible lady at the municipality who's been seconded to the recovery work and has been a big instrumental part of this, along with the team that she works with, and everybody really working on the recovery side of things. So my heartfelt appreciation goes to those residents that are coming home today. And again, we take this moment to celebrate you, as long as we continue to acknowledge that the work is just at its early stages and not yet done. So for anyone who is not here on this blessed day, your day will come and will be as enthusiastic for you when you get here too. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and we'll await the questions that come post-event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Blake. And we will invite Jeanette Bankars up next.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome our neighbors back to 439 homes today. Throughout recovery, we've kind of kept the mantra of being safe, resilient, and together. And to that end, I'd really like to extend thanks to our mayor and council, to our recovery team, to the wonderful support that we've had from the Government of Alberta, the CMOH, the resources and experts that they brought to the table to ensure that we had a mitigation plan that kept our residents safe. I really can't thank them enough. To those residents who are still unable to come home, we absolutely admire and appreciate your resilience and want you to know that we are working hard for you. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. And now next is Aaron O'Neill.
Thank you, Russell, and welcome home to 439 of our residents today in Abasand and Beacon Hill. I just want to say a big thank you to the Wood Buffalo Recovery Committee, Mayor and Council, and to the recovery team, particularly my team that helped achieve this goal today. Also, thank you to all our operations staff and everybody that made this possible. Our fire department is here, and everybody's home. Welcome home. I have to say a big thank you to all of our contractors as well. We introduced an orientation late yesterday afternoon. We are pleased to say that over 723 of our contractors have already completed that orientation. Approximately 60% already had that orientation when they arrived on site today. We do have our staff on site doing that orientation as well in both areas. So a big thank you to all of our contractors for doing that for us. We also have our information centers set up in Abasand and Beacon Hill. Hill. We have seen 12 people go through Beacon Hill so far, and 12 people in Abasand and 4 people through Beacon Hill. We expect those numbers to rise this afternoon, so we invite all of our residents to come and take all the information that is at these information centers from our staff, and just want to say a big thank you to everyone, and welcome home Abasand and Beacon Hill for those residents that got to come home today. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for their patience. We will now open the floor for questions.
Mayor Blake, can I ask you sort of about the timeline of this? I know, obviously, it's up to the province when it comes to clearing these areas, these restricted areas. But some residents are still kind of going into their homes and saying that they're still getting headaches, still concerned about their health. How do you reassure them that these areas are indeed safe to live in?
We were happy to put out our entire mitigation plan that was submitted to the Chief Medical Officer of Health yesterday. It is posted online at rmwb.ca/abw. It does include all of our mitigation measures that were in place. Also included in residents' re-entry booklet that were placed at their doors is a document from Alberta Health Services living safely in your neighborhoods during demolition. So we do encourage residents to check that out. We put a lot of mitigation measures in place, and a lot of things have changed on the ground since May 30th when the original recommendation was made, and we are confident that the measures in place have it made safely for those 439 residents to come home.
What's changed? What's been done to make sure that they're
So fencing has been done, the testing has been done, tackifier was placed, Health Services is on site. We made sure that the forest and ash is not flying around, so the dust control through our demolition handbook, a number of conditions in our demolition permit requirements to make sure that things are happening safely. Today, since it's raining, is a perfect day to do demolition, but we do have 24-hour security on site as well as enforcement on site to make sure that those mitigation measures are happening. We do encourage residents, if they're seeing anything of concern, to let us know so that we can mitigate those things right away. We have air monitoring on site, that we haven't seen any elevated levels. So we are confident that we are in a safe place to let residents return home.
What needs to happen before waterways and the remainder of Abasand and Beacon Hill will be re-inhabited?
So for the remainder of Abasand and Beacon Hill, the debris does need to be cleaned up in those areas. We didn't feel that we could get the right mitigation measures in place to let those remaining residents come home. So we are working diligently to get that demolition done. That's one of the reasons why we did issue that demolition order, so that any area that's not cleaned up by September 30th, the municipality will go in and clean up those areas. For waterways, it's same thing for these standing homes for those residents to return home. However, to start the rebuild in waterways, there are some additional flood mitigation measures that need to be put in place and some additional considerations in waterways that we are working closely with the government of Alberta on.
For those joining us on a live stream on Facebook or Periscope, we're just experiencing some technical difficulties, so my apologies, but we're going to get back to the press conference now.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of homes that are still outside the green zone that are still habitable. Is there anything stopping people from just moving back into those homes?
Again, what we've been working with since the beginning of our evacuation and return to the community are the health recommendations from the Chief Medical Officer. And at this point, as you heard previously from Aaron, the fact is we need to remove the debris to make sure that we've met the conditions that were a part of that recommendation.
So how do you tell the resident, hey, because it's in the same neighborhood, so how do you say, these homes aren't safe, but these ones a block away or 2 blocks away are, even though that debris is still there? How do you reassure people?
You know what, the reassurance is never going to satisfy the actual absence from the home. And in fact, I stand here today and I always feel very conflicted about, the celebration that we have, just like the original celebration is important for the people that do get that. But for those, we still are asking for their patience, and we're looking at every angle that we can to ensure the safety of those residents. And it's a horribly long journey, but it's not that much longer for the remaining standing green homes. The phase 2, I suspect, as you heard from Aaron, is that it's imminent. This debris demolition removal order will take effect by September 30th. Then we'll go in and finish up the rest as we need to so that we can get those folks back in.
Mayor Blake, just with today's timeline, I spoke to people this morning, and they've been able to come back to their home a couple of blocks away, frustrated, and they say they never really had, you know, they felt they never had an answer about why it wasn't safe, considering, you know, people in Wood Buffalo could move back to their home, which was close to debris, or people in Stone Creek could move back, considering the home next to them had burned down. So why so long?
As I recall, I think it was the proximity to the danger zones. And when you look at a broader dispersed area like Sapper Creek and Nanzac, these lots are no less than 2 acres in size. And so your actual proximity doesn't have the same presentation of risk as you would in tight neighborhoods. Same problem when you went back into places like Stone Creek. I remember there were pink placards on some of the homes that were abutting, and they had to take extra measures to make sure that they had satisfactory levels of ability to live in those homes. So as regrettable as it is, it's really a circumstance that's predicated on the necessity for safe achievement before we were able to get them back in.
And the safe aspect was, even though they're, you know, 4 streets away from any debris, it was still unsafe?
I'm not actually the technical expert on that. Perhaps, Aaron, if you want to try responding.
Thank you. It was actually about the amount of devastation that there were in Beacon Hill and Abasand. So Abasand had over 1,164 structures built, and Beacon Hill had over 700 structures built. That was a lot more than we saw in the neighborhoods of Wood Buffalo and Stone Creek. We did do a thorough mitigation review of all those neighborhoods because there was some talk that they are very similar, but it was really just about the amount of ash and debris that needed to be removed in those areas, even though they were a distance away from the actual ash and debris. It was about that, just that amount that had to be removed. So phase 2 for Abasand and Beacon Hill will occur following the debris removal in those areas. We are working to get that debris removed. That's one of the reasons why we did put that demolition order in place, so that all properties were cleaned up by September 30th. For those properties not cleaned up by September 30th, the municipality will go in and clean up those areas so that there is not a delay for those residents returning home. Waterways for the standing homes, that circumstances will be the same once debris is removed. For the rebuild in waterways, it's a little different because we are sorting out the flood mitigation issues, and we are working closely with the government of Alberta to do that.
Mayor, on the rebuild, could you just address, you know, when do you expect to see construction crews maybe pouring foundations? Is that going to happen before the frost? Or
For some people who are advanced enough to be able to accomplish that, yes, but it'll be a very small amount. We've seen some of that rebuilding already occurring in the region. So what actually happens, in my estimation, is that because the winter freeze-up happens fairly soon, you're probably going to have a delay in terms of when they actually get the foundations for the new buildings in. I suspect the real boom will happen in the spring.
Are you satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied when people are in their homes. So no, I can't say that I'm satisfied with anything. I wasn't satisfied the day the fire ignited and chased us all from our homes. But the truth of the matter is that we have a very difficult task ahead of us. And patience, again, has to be as incumbent upon me to be patient as it does on every citizen who's in their circumstance.
I'm asking this bylaw that's in place for the restricted homes in terms of developing on those properties in the restricted areas. There's a bylaw in place that prevents that rebuilding. What's the status of that?
That has actually had its first reading by the technical requirements. We can't hear it until September the 20th, but what we expect to be able to do is repeal the bylaw that incorporated the necessity of having the CMOH approvals as a part of it. So that one's going to disappear, and if it was an impediment, it simply will go away.
Sorry, just a clarification. So the delay in these areas specifically, for a short answer, was the scale of destruction in these areas. Yes, people may have been some distance, but there was just so many homes. That would be what you would tell someone if you went to their living room tonight?
I suspect that would be the answer. Again, the analysis was done by the province through the Chief Medical Health's office, and so I can't really speak to the specifics. We've been tracking all of the data related to the elements that they've detected in the safety testing and measuring, and so we've been really paying attention to that, but I didn't think to put that question that you put to me specifically to it. Do you?
That would be the response.
Oh, I got it right.
But could you sum that up then, I guess, in terms of, I guess, again, the thing we get from people, and we have heard, is that they feel like there just hasn't been a good explanation about why they haven't been able to sleep in their own beds.
No, and again, it is the amount of destruction in the area that they are subjected to. And as you heard earlier, the responses about places like Wood Buffalo Way and like Stone Creek, even though they're urban and similar, they have a greater or a less density per acre than what the places here do. So that proximity makes all the difference in terms of what people are breathing and what could possibly be contaminants in the air. And that's where we've been making sure that we're tracking and measuring all of those things as we make forward moving projections for people coming home.
There's 439 homes that today, phase one, they're allowed in. But a lot of people we've spoken to in phase one aren't going to be sleeping in their homes today. Are you hearing the same thing?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The other real important element I think people need to respect is that this is a severe trauma that people have been through from being forced from the community for the duration that we were. And the fact that they've got standing homes, they've got some that have neighbors that are still beside them, they've got some neighbors who have just gone. And there's a lot of emotional trauma that comes from the people who've been probably subjected to the longest restriction from their home. Folks that I've spoken to have managed to work through their insurance claims and they've got the ability to sustain themselves. And some that I've spoken to would simply be more comfortable coming back at the second phase when all the debris has been removed and that there's no moving through the area. But we've established the safety parameters such that if people want to, they can.
One of the other things they're telling us is not just emotional trauma, it's physically their house hasn't been cleaned, it needs new roof, needs new siding. Talk to me about that.
Again, it's up to every individual homeowner and their insurance policy to navigate their way through those problems, but I suspect that now that there is a permissible habitation, it may be easier to extend the amount of timelines that they had for doing those projects or efforts.
How does it make you feel to see?
So we're going to take this question and then one more, and then we're going to wrap up.
How does it make you feel to see today shingles going up on roofs, cleaning happening in these formerly restricted areas?
It is all signs of progress. And I have to say that, again, the tragedy that we've all been through also brings a silver lining. And the silver lining is that the recessed economy that we've been dealing with has certainly perked up because of the extra efforts that people are able to put into reclaiming, remediating, and taking care of their homes. And so new roofs mean my people in the community have jobs to do.
This is super off topic, but are you planning to run again in the next election or?
That is super off topic, and that was the last question, not yours.
No, he said one more. He said,
Oh, did he? I have to answer it. I mean, anytime there's an election coming, you start contemplating what your future might look like. And I'd love to tell you I'm undecided, but I'm not. I pretty much know my outcome, and it has nothing to do with what these circumstances have been. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve this region, and especially during these difficult times. The harder things are, the prouder I am of the region that I represent. But it's highly unlikely that you'll see my name on the next ballot.
All right, thank you very much, everybody, for coming out, and that's a wrap for today. Thank you.